Yeah.
I got it's nice and sunny out, but for some reason I just am in the darkness here. I don't know why.
It's 90 here. However, it was windy. So,
Oh, we couldn't go out.
yeah, we couldn't go out. So it was 15 to 16 mile per hour winds with gusts up to 28. So I was like, and it was just going to be like, let me back the whole story up. So we were supposed to do a scrimmage. I'm coaching for U of R. We're supposed to be doing scrimmage against RIT in St. Lawrence. And Saturday wasn't the scrimmage. Sunday was the scrimmage. So Saturday we go out on the water. It's miserable. It was raining sideways. It was 40 degrees. We were soaking wet. My survival suit was like 100 pounds because it was just soaking wet. We did the work. You know how when it's raining and if you can deal with it, settles the water out so you can get work done, but it sucked. So then it rained like all day and the river went back up to 11,000. Which on Sunday morning, it was beautiful like this. It was sunny. The weather was mild, beautiful, but we couldn't get on the river because it was still 10, or I think it was still 10,000 at that point, and so we couldn't race. So St. Lawrence had come out to our area, and it must have been so disappointing for them. We didn't even get to see them because we were going to launch from our boathouse and then row down to the middle point between us and RIT because RIT is further south on the river than we are.
Okay.
But St. Lawrence had gone to their boathouse. So instead of doing rowing on Sunday, we erged inside at the training center, which sucked. And I was just standing there watching, but not great. But yeah, it sucked that we didn't get a chance to work on our boats and get a chance to run some race plans and try some things out. So that really wasn't fun. And then, but the silver lining of it was that Sunday was the Rochester Half Marathon, or the City Half Marathon, the Rochester Half Marathon in the fall. The Flower City Half Marathon was on Sunday, and it actually ran by our training center. So we were able to see, we saw the person who won, and we saw the first woman who was going to cross the finish line. She ran by. We saw the first chunk of people in the race. And then we went back in and urged some more. And then by the end of our race, it was more like the people who would be running with me. That I cheered for them a little bit, and then went home. So yeah, so it was a little bit disappointing. This spring has just been, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a little bit disappointing as far as getting out and getting some really great work on the water done. It's been a lot of delays.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's been pretty good since the first time. So we got the docks in on the 28th of March. And then that first week, I think they got out once maybe. And then it was slow ever since maybe two weeks. Well, maybe the week before this weekend. So they had a scrimmage 2 weekends ago. That was when you guys were out here for states.
Yep.
And they maybe got out 3 practices before that.
Oh, wow.
Before that scrimmage. And then I think they got out every day between the scrimmage weekend and this past weekend, which was Saratoga Invitational. Luckily, we had great weather all weekend for that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
So,
no rain.
you need to give me the whole breakdown. Who was there? Go. All the good stuff.
Yeah. So the Saratoga Invitational is a really interesting race because it's a lot of big teams and a lot of really fast teams. And some that are like some we do see at states on some Scholastic teams. So those are like kind of who we're focused on, right? Because that's where Scholastic, New York State team. But it's just a good chance to try out different lineups. The way they do that race is so weird and different. I don't know if much about how it is or if
No,
it's
no, no.
evolved.
No.
They have the same schedule for both Saturday and Sunday. And anything from pretty much any category, I think. I don't know if they miss any categories really. And so then the team signs up for which day. So let's say you have a women's double, like a varsity double. So you enter that in either Saturday or Sunday or both. And then it's just finals. So even though there might be multiple flights of them, they're not time trials. And they're not heats. They're not like scored against each other by time. So you just race in whatever final you end up being in and you win first, second, or third,
Oh, wow.
depending on the luck of the draw, which is kind of good. I think it's kind of nice that it's different because it
Yeah.
does give some people a chance to maybe medal that haven't medaled before. I think there is some kind of seeding that happens behind the scenes, but especially they said on the live stream, the day 2, they have it's a little bit better because they do wait it out to give it to release Sunday schedule. So there might be some planning there where they figure out who's like almost like you would assume who would be in a first final and a second final, but you still win medals for first, second, and third, even if you're in the second final. Because again, you haven't done a time trial or anything to get into that. So both kids raced. Kean raced twice. Hannah raced 4 times.
Oh, wow.
There were 2 girls on the team that raced 6 times total over the weekend.
Wow.
Yes. And it was the first time Hannah raced a pair. So that was another first. So she was very nervous about that. And she was bow seats. So it was a lot of new things. She's raced a single and she's raced doubles and she has bowed before, but to have to bow and then race a new kind of boat was like a lot of new things for her. But she, I think I was pleasantly surprised on how optimistic she was the morning of the race, because leading up to it, she was definitely nervous because, again, I think they got out 3 times in the pair, but it was literally 3 practices leading up to the race.
Yeah.
So they were like, I don't know how this is going to go. We've never practiced. A pair is hard. And of course, the starts are like the part that, once you get it going, the pair it moves, and it, like any other boat, once it's up to speed, it's a little bit easier to set and you get the rhythm down. But it's those starts, that's where things can.
Did anyone flip on the start in the pairs?
So I don't think in the pairs, but we were watching, I think it was the U17 singles, or it might have been the varsity singles, the boys singles, and there was one that flipped right at the finish. I don't even know if he crossed the finish line, but by the time we all noticed that he had flipped, the boat was literally on the finish line. And then the next race, somebody flipped, like maybe 200 meters to go or somewhere in there. So you could then see another boat that was there was the launches going over to take care of them. And then eventually the kid came in with the space blanket on and awkwardly on the launch. But overall, like I said, the weather, like it was chilly on Saturday, no rain, overcast. It was kind of chilly near the water. Then on Sunday, and actually Saturday, I definitely got some sun. I put sunblock on, but because you're not hot in the sun, you don't notice it as much. So you're right by the water. And then the next day the sun was really strong. So like I think a lot of people I was still bundled up because when we were near the food tent, we were hot in all the layers. When we were near the water, we were like bundling up again. But good racing. I have to say, Burton Hills did awesome. They won, they got a medal in almost every race they were in, minus a few. Cool. Very impressive. That was exciting for me, but I know as the team that shares a boathouse with them, we did well. We definitely had a lot of 4th places. Didn't get any medals on Saturday. We ended up having 2 silvers and a bronze on Sunday. And Hannah's boat got silver in the quad, so that was exciting. And it's a lot of it comes down to just not a lot of water time, a lot of still figuring things out, but I think overall it went really well. And my feeling on the paid live stream, so I don't need to get into it too much, but I am disappointed in the fact that they had TV set up and they were never on any of the location. I heard they were on in the morning, and then both days by 9 o'clock, the TVs weren't working. So yeah, so that was a little annoying. And I did end up paying for the live stream. So you're welcome, Saratoga, because Oversight got my money for the month.
But when Ithaca, the broadcasting team from Ithaca did it, and they
Yep.
did a phenomenal job. They should be doing all of the regattas. Like,
They do a great job. I've seen them do theirs before too.
yeah,
And they interview people and
oh my gosh, they had like
yeah.
a drone landing pad. It was very like professional. Like, I'm gonna send it to the people who run the hog, but they should invite the Ithaca communications department down to do the live stream, because their live stream was amazing. Like,
Yes.
it was really cool. It was fun to watch. It was interactive. Like, the little guy in the golf cart was going around and interviewing people. It was really fun. So it would be great if that became a thing and they were just going out and doing all the regattas and maybe taking over for the Saratoga Invitational, and then for maybe states for collegiate and for scholastic. We'll put it out there.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Test team out there.
Because they don't even have, for a paid system, you kind of expect you're going to get better quality than you did when it was free. But the system that they use does not allow you to rewind in real time. So if you're watching something that's being broadcast on YouTube live, you can rewind. If you're like, oh, I missed the beginning of the race, you could rewind it. Can't do that on an oversight. The other thing you can't do is really, it's not easy to find. You literally have to go to the menu, search for rowing, and hopefully you find it. And it's just a terrible searching system. They don't put anything on the screen other than the event in the bottom corner. So they don't list. I think a few years ago when they had it on YouTube, they would have the lineup early on in the race, see it on the screen, like who's in the next race. And then eventually, like maybe 2 races later, they, in between races, show the results for a race. They don't do that. So it's really not any better. They had the drone before. They had the drone at times, but it cuts out pretty frequently. Yeah. So, I mean, for not being able to see much of the race, it could be better for sure. Yeah, I love the Ithaca. I think that's great. Yeah, we should get those
throughout there. They
students some work.
Yeah, those students, they were really into it. They did a great job, and they had the drones going, and they had the whole setup with a home base where they were like changing the different feeds and doing everything. It was very professional, which it should be, right? That's what they're training to do for life. So yeah, they did an amazing job. So we should recruit them to do all the regattas now. Yeah.
I want to see, I saw a clip on a reel. Dave O'Neill from Texas was doing some kind of interview with Kate Nifton, and they were basically challenging the idea that rowing is not a spectator sport, which I heard probably 4 or 5 times come out of people's mouths this weekend. And I really want to hear his point of view. I would love to hear the thoughts. He was talking about how his kids go to a football game. They go because of like all the things that are going on in between the actual plays. Like, what can we do to make rowing more interesting, exciting, and, more approachable? Something that brings it closer, because it is such a far away thing. Like, how can we bring that, make it a little bit better experience?
Yeah, I wish there was just a touch more announcing, like, for races going, actually, could we get the information just that they're in the starting box? Event 14 is in the starting blocks. We have blah, 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 blah. Or as it's coming down the course, getting those announcements. I know the announcements are saved for letting people know who should be coming up to the dock. So they're doing that type of announcement, but having maybe a different option as far as just letting us know who's on the course, who's in, even just the idea of who's in the warm-up area, who do you see down there? That would keep people a little bit more interested, because I know from a coach's perspective, it's a little bit of hurry up and wait. When you're at a regatta, you got to hurry up and get rigged, get your bow numbers on, figure out when you're going to warm up, when you're going to send the kids out. So there's probably an hour's worth of hustle and bustle before they even get on the water. And then you send them off on the water, and then you're just twiddling your thumbs. And then come back to the dock, and that's it. And then you have to wait for them to report. Whereas if we could get just a touch more information, I think that just that so-and-so is on the line, or for head race style, bow number 33 is started the course, or event, or even just knowing that the event's going. I think that would add to it a bit. I think rowing does lean into that tailgating feel, with the food tent and that kind of thing. I don't know how we could make it any more enjoyable. Like something like the Charles. The Charles works because you can go down the Charles and not necessarily be a rower or even adjacent. You can enjoy the different food tents. You could enjoy the different merch tents. You could go into the Falls Bar and grab a glass of wine. Like you can do all those different things, and it's at a venue where you can walk and watch. At that in a venue that lets you walk and watch does lend itself more to rowing being a spectator sport.
Pittsford does that really well too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a nice spot where you can, if you wanted to, you could follow the whole race. Theoretically, if you got your bike and you could go down the path, you just have to be careful towards the end.
Yeah.
You don't run into everybody and show them place and run over and crash into a building or something like that. But you could really enjoy the whole race. The only problem with Pittsford from a rower's standpoint is that the canal is just so freaking narrow. Like, I'm not a big fan. I'm going to row Pittsford most reluctantly because I bow and I just feel like as you're rowing up, like I feel like I'm so close to the rocks that I'm going to be on the rocks trying to avoid a race that potentially is coming down. Most of it is head race style because like just a time trial because you can't row head to head sprint with all those people in the events. So, something like a Saratoga being able to have, did they use all 10 lanes this weekend?
There was a few that, there were 10 boats in a race. Yep.
Wow. It's just, if it was more spectator friendly, that would be amazing. I don't know. Maybe like the thing about Saratoga is could there be like some type of spectator boat or something like that where you could, that might be something like that would be almost like the idea of like boys in the boat and people around the train. That kind of
boats too. I feel like there were people out on boats. But that would be really interesting to have like almost a dinner cruise.
I'm thinking about like where, like on what side of the course could you have something that's running back and forth that wouldn't interfere with warm up, and that's what becomes like the thing that makes it difficult. Yeah, and then because if you had a boat that was following, you can't necessarily follow the first boat because you'd be waking everyone. So like you would have to follow. It would almost have to follow behind, almost like the ref launches do, and then to go back up to the top. And then like, how do you do people getting on and off? And like, it becomes like a whole thing. Yeah, it's really tough. I guess rowing isn't, I hate to say it's not a spectator sport.
I'm curious, and I'm interested to hear more about what that coach had said about what Dave O'Neill had said about it and some ideas. Even the idea that the announcing, like having a walk-up song like they have in baseball.
Yeah.
I can think of some times when we could do that and maybe like a scrimmage at home, or we have our marathon row. That would be fun. Have some fog, like big fog and like lights.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's some things we could do.
There are definitely things we could do. And I think just if we went with just the basic announcements, I think that
would help
people more engaged. Just to know that the event that you're really there to cheer for, that you're probably going to only cheer for them when they come to the dock, when they leave the dock, that it's on the course. And you can see from the finish line with your binoculars, and you see the whole 1,500 meters. I know for when the 2,000, it's just like they're so far away, it's hard to catch them the whole time. But with binoculars, if you're on the bridge and you're watching binoculars, you can watch a boat the whole time, right?
You can, yeah. They're coming at you at an angle, so it's really hard to tell who's winning, but you can definitely see them. And normally we're like sitting there, and because I don't want my battery to drain, I'm watching only for my kids' races, and then I'm using the binoculars and trying to figure out based on what they're saying on the live stream and then what you can visually see. I will say that we're all convinced that lane 9 has a huge advantage. It's definitely the protected side. There was a lot of winners in lane 9 this weekend. But yeah, I did hike over, probably illegally, over to the one shore where Saratoga's boathouse is. And then if you keep going, there's those kayaks. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it's a homeowners association there. So it does have a sign, only people who live in this neighborhood, so to speak. I did hike over there for the last race because I really wanted to just see what it's like over there. It's a very pleasant area. I screamed my butt off for her boat. But she was in lane 5, and that was the first one. So there were 5, 6, 7, and 8, maybe 9. I don't think they used lane 9. So it was like, I think it was 5 boats final, but she didn't hear me, but that's okay. I just wanted to see what it was like over there, and it was nice. It's interesting. I think you can see more. You're a little closer to the action, so that's kind of neat. You can hear the coxswains in the races where there's coxswains, which is exciting. But it's very calm and quiet over there because there's not as many people there. Whereas, like when you're over near that jetty or the boat launch or bridge, usually there's a lot more cheering. So that kind of builds the excitement too, especially for the 8s races.
Yeah. It'd be nice if we had a venue in New York State that was a little bit easier to see, but I'm thankful that we have a venue that you can do 10 lanes across, that you can, for the collegiate, I think, is it only 6 lanes across? Because like the land shoots out a little bit. I think they can do lanes for the full 2000. So, but in Rochester, we don't have anything like that. There are a couple of areas. There is a pond up by Lake Ontario that I have in my head. I'm like, this could work. But I think it would be like, I think it's just 2,000 meters. It's like, but I mean, you'd be in on the action. I could see it the whole time and you could cheer and everything. Literally, the stake books would be on one side of the lake or the pond, and then on the other side of the pond would be the finish line. We literally had to check it down.
Yeah.
But just to have those types of venues, and especially for our Rochester athletes, we don't have a course like that, so we can't practice that. So it's even just for when we have the hog, they put the buoys out. It's just nice to have buoys in the water. I'm like, oh, okay, that's supposed to be over there, and that's supposed to be over there. It's a totally different way of rowing than when it's just free for all.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you coming this weekend?
So we will be at Saratoga on Friday for Liberty League. And is it bad that I don't know everybody who's in the Liberty League? I can look it up.
I know Union is in it because I did Liberty Leagues when I was coaching there years ago.
Union, Skidmore, St. Lawrence, U of R, RIT,
Hamilton,
Liberty League. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let's see who else is in there. I can look at women's sports, and I can go to crew, and then who else is there?
Oh, we could go to Streamline too.
Oh, we want Streamline also, right? I think we caught everybody. Did we see everybody? I don't know all by just
Team.
William Smith. Okay.
RIT.
Are you guys Liberty League RPI?
I think we are, but we're club, so maybe that's why it's not on here. St. John
Fisher.
And that's it looks like.
Yeah. I think we caught everybody. Yeah, so very exciting. The athletes are very excited. The 1V, the 2V have been training really hard. So has the 4. The 4 is a mix of people. We've been changing it each week because just availability and things. And you forget these athletes are just so busy they could be writing a thesis. They could be working. They could be doing ROTC. They could be doing, or they could just have a lot of coursework that just is super demanding. And the one thing that has to give is going to rowing practice. So we're D3. We try to be respectful of the kids' academic needs and making sure that, especially on registration day, I think it was like 3 or 4 days worth of registration. We had to make sure everybody got off the water on time and made it to a location where they would be, because I think they had to be like on the campus Wi-Fi or something. I don't know. It had to be something like, it seemed crazy, but we made it work. Just as far as attendance. And then I think this part of the season, it's just hard. They've been taking exams. They're mentally wound down and their bodies are wound up, and then their bodies are wound up from all of the volume. We hit the peak of the volume last week and people were getting sick and body parts that were achy were being achy. We're on taper right now. So hopefully no, because it's two extremes. Some of the athletes use working out as a de-stress. So you'll see those are the athletes that'll come to practice in the morning and then they might do a lift in the afternoon and maybe a run in the evening. They're using it as a release for stress to try to get them to not do that because they need to save their bodies for actual race is easy for some and a complete challenge for others. So like, I just want to do a little work. And you're like, no, you can't do. You need to build up that feeling of really want to work out. We want you to feel like that on the line in Saratoga. Trying to have them be mindful of that and teach them what that's supposed to feel like. You're supposed to feel a little antsy this week. You're supposed to feel like you haven't done anything. You're supposed to feel like that so that when you get in the boat, you'll feel amazing because your body's actually rested. That's what we're battling with. And so today, when the weather wasn't going to be 100%, I was like, okay, stay home, lie in bed, stare at the ceiling, or do homework, or, use your mental energy up. Try to save the physical energy.
So is there like qualifying if they do well this weekend in their races for NCAA?
There's potential. I think they can get a bid something else. Like I said, I'm new to the whole college thing. So we have NERCS left, which is on Mother's Day, and we automatically get to go to that. But there's some type of something that happens if we do something at leagues and if we do something at NERCS. I just don't happen to know what that is. I'll be honest about that. So as I'm learning more, because I spent a lot of time in juniors. So like always like, oh, what's the configuration of Scholastic versus club? And are they going to be able to go to nationals and that kind of thing? I don't know what the next step would be. I'm just excited for them. I feel like they feel prepared. I feel like when they row away, when they do their warm up, they mean business. And like I love to see that. They're very confident. I love a crew can start from the finish and make it look good. If you start from the finish, you're just kind of like, I don't know. You guys should probably start from the catch. But they really have mastered the idea of boat presence. And I like that. And I think that always facilitates being able to put your best foot forward. Because it means like if you're starting from the finish and you're doing the warm-up all 8, everybody's on the same page. You're working together. So even just being able for the 1B does it, 2B does it, the 4, we're getting there. There's definite no glimmers of hope. It's just tough because our conditions have been so trashy. Because once I take them out we'll go into the canal and we'll do some drill work in the canal. We've been working on just clearing those blades, weighting the oar lock, really feeling that balance of like how much control I have over this oar. I'm rowing, this oar's not rowing me. And then being able to get up to the catch. And because you've weighted that oar lock with the oar's weight, that when you go to drop it and it's very easy, it's very clean. Trying to get some of the more novice people in the boat to square up just a touch earlier because they'll flip catch, they'll flip square, and then try to place, and they'll miss a little bit of that catch water. So we're trying to clean that up. I've also been working on just making sure everybody's in the work because the lineup changes so often and the shoes are in different spots. Just getting everybody comfortable with the idea that I can make this change, that I can be like, hey, coach, I need a moment. I am not in the work. My seat's not coming up to the pin. I'm not coming to or through. I'm a to or through kind of gal. You can be to it if you can get enough reach, but I'd like to see you through it, maybe just a little bit. We get, 10 centimeters of work through is what the standard that you can put on the boat so that so you're not hitting the front stops on the slides. So I just try to make sure that everybody's got the setup in the boat that gives them the best advantage to get the blade in the water for the longest amount of time, nice and cleanly. And we're still working on hand position through the finish, that we're drawing in, keeping that wrist up, that we're finishing the stroke. Some of those things come by the wayside as the rate goes up. Just trying to because some of the people who are in this 4 kind of go up to the 2B, which kind of their rates are a lot higher, a lot faster. So we have to slow them down just a little bit to come back into the 4 and be like, we're going to be at 30, 32. We're not going to be at 34, 36. Otherwise, the boat's going nowhere. You're just doing this. As far as our stroke person, we have one who's very reliable, who goes in and out of the 2B. And so when she's in the boat, she definitely has that poise, not necessarily the fire. Where I think of a stroke person, there's a balance between poise and fire. Too much fire and it's chaotic. Too much poise and it goes flat.
Yeah.
Before the sprint starts, like I need you to ride that line between poise and fire, and like be snappy, and I need you to be the same every single time we do, because we do a 3/4, half 3/4, lengthen. The time that you do it, it is a 3/4 stroke, a half stroke, a 3/4 stroke, a full stroke. Nothing nothing less, nothing more, nothing in between. You have to hit the mark every single time. And trying to teach that, like,
Yeah.
because I bow a lot now, so I don't stroke a lot now. I stroked when we were in college, and the thing about stroking is you just have to mean it. Try to hit your mark. You're setting the pace. You can't. There's no breaks. If you're in the middle of a boat, you can think about just scrambling. Like if you're stroking, there is no your break. If you release your power, then everybody else is following that. So you just have to be on. And so there's a girl who's I'm training up to that. And I'm just trying to, you have to know ratio. You have to be able to feel that the ratio is off enough that you need to slow down a little bit, bring it back together, and then bring everybody back up because everybody's following you. And it's a lot to teach someone.
It is. It is. That would be, I would love to explore that so much more on like all the different things that each seat does. The other day I was thinking about it in terms of a situation that I was in, and I was like, I feel like I am the stroke seat in this situation, and I don't have a good 7 seat. I need a good 7 seat, or I can be the 7 seat and I need to back up my stroke seat. But I am just doing this, carrying the load of both right now, and I can't.
Yeah.
And it was a lot, you know what I mean? In a boat, imagine you were trying to play both roles. Not literally, because you can't, but you're trying to set the pace. You need a little bit of stubbornness in stroke seat. You have to, when you feel rush, and maybe this is just me, but especially when I'm with the masters, if I start feeling rushed, I'm going to back off that pace and it's going to be obvious. And it's like, wake up, people. And that's what happens, right? Like they will, especially if you're just doing drills or rowing up on the paddle, you start feeling people rolling up to this. I'm freezing here again.
You're good.
But yeah, anyway, I'll talk about this a little bit more in a future episode. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, we should definitely do a whole from the front to the back of the boat. And then even because I think there's different coaching personalities too. I think they to be like there's the rah-rah coach. And I tend to be a rah-rah coach. Like I don't know. I just find the whole experience so positive. I am like the coach who like we're on the water and the sun is rising. I'm like, look at the sunrise, you guys. It's amazing. Like this is not going to happen every day in your life for the rest of your life. Like I need to treat practice like that. This is not some type of finite small snippet of your life because it's actually a finite small snippet of your life. Like you're never going to row in the same seat with the same people ever again. It's just not going to be like this. And I hate to treat practice like that. So I always love I'm that rah-rah coach who's like, yeah, this is amazing. We're living life. But there has to be the coach who's reality check coach who's got to give everybody a little bit of grain of salt. Like, you may have won that race, but the start was terrible. Like, you still have work to do. So this who's like, you still have work to do kind of coach. Besides that, then there's, I guess there's just the angry screaming coach. That's another, you didn't do the angry screaming kind, but I think I lean more towards that rah-rah. I'm just excited that we're out there. I'm excited that everybody's participating. I just think it's our sport is just so great. And I think everybody probably thinks their sport is so awesome, but our sport is just so great. There are just these really magical moments like all the time. And I feel like we lose out if we don't capture those just a little bit. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a minx swimming across the river. I'm like, look at that. That's pretty cool. Or a deer that's sipping at the water. I'm going to stop a boat and say something about that. But there's some people who are out there and they got the blinders on and they're getting the work done. And we do talk about that sometimes we do have to, especially for the novices, getting them to understand that you can't look at the other boat. You look at the other boat, you give them your energy. You have to be that horse with the blinders, especially on race day. But when it's not race day and we've done our work, we've done our drills and things are looking great, I'll stop. And our sport's on the most scenic, most beautiful places. Our waterway, as far as like actual water quality, isn't amazing. But I see some of these videos on Instagram where people are rowing on the water and they can see down to the bottom. I'm just like, I would be so distracted. I couldn't row the whole time. Like when I went to visit, I did a ride along out at Hobart, and their water is like that too. It's Seneca Lake, and like when you're close enough to the shore, you can see all the way to the bottom. I'm looking at the bottom. I was like, it's so neat. I'm like, I could see the rocks down there. But yeah, Genesee is not that like that, and the canal's not like that either. It's like Willy Wonka. But I digress. I'll let you go because we can continue to talk rowing all day. But we definitely need to do a specific podcast. Maybe the next one we'll do a specific podcast talking about all the different seats from the perspective of the rower, and then also what the coach thinks about that seat and how they place somebody in that. Because I think those are two very different things.
I would say sneak peek. I'm gonna really give 3 seats some grace here. I'm gonna give them their props because they get a bad rap, and I'm gonna counter that argument. I'm gonna put it together and present it at our next cast presentation.
I looked at an old picture from my novice year at UVM in an 8. It's head of the Genesee. My dad's standing on the bridge. He took the picture, and I was like, I'm in 5. It wasn't 3 seat. I knew I was starboard, and the fear looking at it, I was like, was I 3 seat?
Hey, I've been 3 seat. I know I've been 3 seat.
And I know I've been 3 seat. Sometimes you're the 3 seat of the boat.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring my case to the next one, and we're gonna talk about 3 seat and a positive. Excuse me, a positive.
They're the back of the engine room, though. They are the back of the engine. So
they are.
There's a level of importance there.
Yep. All right, Adrian. Have a great day. Thank you for listening, everybody.
All right. And if you want to come on the podcast, please shoot us an email or shoot us a comment, and we'd love to have you on and hear your rowing story.
Yay.